Hi guys, welcome to Paul's Cooking Adventures. Today we're going to be making two types of fig bread. We're going to be making our loaf bread and this lovely sliced flatbread. This is absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to showing you these, so let's get cooking. We better try these ones and see what they're like. See which one's my best. Absolutely beautiful looking, this bread. You know what really makes this bread is that little bit of jam over the top, gives us that extra little bit of sweetness. It's crunchy on the sides. It's got that lovely texture of the fig inside of it. I love this one. Let's try our loaf style fig bread. Oh, very juicy bread, this one, very soft. What I do like that comes through it is the little pieces of nut that come through. It gives that little bit of crunch. So it's that textural which gives you that surprise in this bread. Very nice. Hard to pick which one, but I'm gonna go for this one today. Let's run through the ingredients. We're going to need some almonds, some macadamia nuts, plain flour, milk, honey, olive oil, baking powder, some sugar, and these lovely figs. Let's get cooking. Okay, grab yourself a blender. What we're going to do is we're going to put our figs in the blender. You can cut these lovely figs in half. Oh, these figs, absolutely beautiful. Look at these little babies. Yummy as. So figs in. It doesn't matter how soft your figs are, the softer the better. Juicy as. Give them a little push down if you can't get them all in there. You can do them in two batches if you want. And on we go, and in with a blend. Oh yum, that looks beautiful. Now we can fit in the rest of our figs and just chop them up. As you can see, the consistency on there is very thin. Now what we want to do is we can grab our macadamia nuts. We can put our macadamia nuts in. We can grab our almonds and in with our almonds. When we blend this, we don't want to blend it as much as we've blended the figs. We want to leave a little bit of texture in there. So we're just going to give a quick blend, switch it off just so that they all get chopped up and they're in the mix. Now have a look at that. And as you can see, it's just been blended up nicely. Got some little chunks still in there. It's going to be nice and chunky. And we can go in with our mix into a bowl. Now you can make this same recipe with dried figs. When figs are in season, there's so many figs around, so I love to make it with fresh ones. Okay, first thing we can do now is we can go in with our flour. We've got a couple of cups of flour there. Put those in. We can go in with our sugar. We can grab our baking powder. Let's go in with a couple of teaspoons of our baking powder. We've got our milk here. In with our milk. And in with our honey. Just a couple of tablespoons of honey. You can never have enough honey. And then we're just going to mix all these ingredients through. You don't want to overwork your flour. When making cakes and ones like this, you don't want to over mix it because otherwise it will end up being a little bit tough and crunchy. We want to keep this one to mixing it as least as possible. We just want to fold under with our scraper and bring it across the top, trying to cut through it all, making it as mixed as best as possible. You don't want to get flour bits in the middle of it as well, so you don't want to undermix it, but you do want to make sure that you mix it enough. Oh yum, this smells really, really nice. And that's it. Don't need to mix it any more than that. Now, it's really up to you on what you want to put it in. If you want to make it more like a bread loaf, we put it in one like this. You can make it cake-wise and put it in one of these. Up to you how you want to put it, whatever you've got in the cupboard. I like these ones. They're really, really good. Very, very flexible. Make sure you scrape it all off. You just want to sort of put it into a shape where it's coming up to the center, so it's more like a loaf. Down from the sides, up from the center. Give it a little bit of shake around. You don't want to bang your cake up and down. You don't want to knock that air out of it. You want to keep it nice and light. This one's ready to go. We can go into the oven at 170 degrees Celsius. There we go, guys. It's been in the oven for around 40 minutes now. What you want to do is you want to check to make sure it's cooked. You can grab just a normal skewer. You can stick in your skewer. It's good to grab one of the little bits where there's a crack or something. Stick it in, pull it out. If there's no stickiness on the skewer, it means it's ready to go. It's nice and dry in there. If you stick it in and it still feels a little bit doughy on the inside, you may just want to leave it in the oven a little bit longer. You can let this sit for 15 minutes on the side. And once it's been sitting on the side, you can grab yourself a cake wrap and then you can turn this one out. And we can just let this one cool. Okay guys, we're gonna need some all-purpose flour, some sugar, some milk, our yeast, some butter, and our lovely figs from the garden. Let's get cooking. First up, we're gonna need some milk. And we pour it in our container. What we want to do then is grab our butter and just place our butter in. With our warm milk, as I say, our butter will start to melt in here. We can grab our yeast and we'll go in with about 5 grams of our yeast. We can let this one sit on the side and then we're going to select some of our figs. What we want to do with our figs for these ones is, these ones look really beautiful, but what we want to get is the super soft ones, the ones that are gooey that you wouldn't normally eat out of the bowl. These ones are really good for cooking. What we can do with these, you can see how juicy this one is, it just falls apart. We can place this one straight into our bowl. We just want to take out the very top little stem bit, so make sure there's no hard bits in there. And that can go in with our milk and our butter. And one more. Oh, this one at the bottom, this one is super juicy. And we're just going to leave this for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, we can start to see our yeast in here start to bloom up. It's just starting to expand and starting to work. So what we can do first up is we can go in with our flour, and then we can go in with all our wet ingredients. We can make sure that we add our sugar, and then we can start to work this one by hand. Just want to really break down our fig that we have in there and work it into our flour. I want to make sure it's all worked in, that you've got no dry bits of flour. This dough is very, very sticky, but that's how we want it. What we can do is make sure that we have nothing left on our fingers, make sure we take it all off, and we can leave this dough for the next 15 minutes. Okay guys, 15 minutes later we can take off our lid. We can see it's starting to work. What we want to do is just grab it from underneath and we're just going to pull it up onto the top. Grab it underneath, pull it up on top. super wet, moist dough, this one. We can go around a few times doing this, just making sure that we work the dough a little. Pulling it from the bottom, pulling it across to the top. And so we'll do this around 10-15 times. There we go, and we can leave this one for another half an hour. Half an hour later, we can remove again. We can just grab a little bit of flour and just give a sprinkle with flour over the top. And then we can do the same as we did before. We can grab from underneath and we can pull over the top. And there we go, guys. We want to leave this one again. We're going to leave it for another half an hour. And we'll come back one last time. There we go. It's doubled in size. What we can do is, again, we can give a light sprinkle with flour. You can put some flour on your fingers so it doesn't stick so much to your fingers. What we can do is just grab ourselves a baking tray that we're going to bake it in, something similar to the size of the amount that you have here. We can go on our baking tray with a little bit of oil. Got myself a pastry brush here. I just want to make sure that it's evenly spread across the bottom, and so you don't want it to stick to your tray, so you want to make sure that you give it a nice good grease. And then grab our mix, and we just want to scrape our mix in. Nice and soft batter, this one. I'll put some flour, a little sprinkle over the top. And what we can do is we can just work our dough out slightly. Just wanted about that 5 ml thick. And just move this one to the side. We're going to grab our figs now. We'll just grab a couple of figs. And what we're going to do is we can cut it in half and then half again. So in the end we're going to have 1/8. And then we can lay our fig down onto our dough. We're now just going to leave this one for another 10 minutes before we put it into the oven at 180 degrees Celsius. 10 minutes later, we can see that the dough is starting to rise up over the figs. What we can do just before we go into the oven, we can just give a little hit of olive oil straight over the top, and we can go straight into the oven. Here we go, guys, 20 minutes later, out the oven, looking absolutely fantastic. What we want to do is get this one off the tray and onto our baking rack. Trying to make sure that it's not sticking anywhere on the bottom. There we go, can slide it straight off. What I'm going to do with this one now is, I have some of this lovely stuff. My mum made me some fig jam earlier this week. I'm just going to open this one up. Oh, it looks absolutely beautiful. If you haven't got any fig jam, you can use apricot. Apricot jam is completely fine. All I'm going to do is get a couple of tablespoons of jam out. It's quite liquidy, this one, because there's not too much, there's no pectin in this jam at all. So I just want to make sure it's crushed up. No major lumpiness. And then what I will do is get my pastry brush, and I'll get this jam, and what we'll do is we'll just give it a brush over the top. Make sure that we crush it up as much as possible. This jam just adds to the loveliness of this dish. Just gives it that little bit extra, a little bit sticky, nice and sweet. how good does that look? And there we have it, guys, our two different types of fig bread, our lovely loaf fig bread and this lovely flatbread that we've made here. Can't wait to try both these ones, so let's try them. Which one's my best? Absolutely beautiful looking, this bread. You know what really makes this bread is that little bit of jam over the top, gives us that extra little bit of sweetness. It's crunchy on the sides. It's got that lovely texture of the thick inside of it. I love this one. Let's try our loaf style thick bread. Oh, very, very juicy bread, this one, very, very soft. What I do like that comes through it is the little pieces of nut that come through. It gives that little bit of crunch. So it's that textural which gives you that surprise in this bread. I love this one. Thank you very much for everyone joining me today. Really appreciate everyone following. Really appreciate everyone ticking the like button down there and subscribing to my channel. Until the next recipe, see you then.